Welcome! This is Francis Herdis, and today I have a very special topic for you, the Ayurvedic doshas and essential oils. What are the different types and how can you balance them? And for that I have a very special guest, Zeeba Khan. She's a specialist in Ayurveda, and and then let's see if we can go live together. I love natural balance. Hey, and there is Zeeba.
Hi, my dear. Sorry about that technical glitch, my dear.
No problem. It's always good to be relaxed and cheerful, so no worries.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on today.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. You are a specialist in Ayurveda and the different types, so you probably look at each person and run some tests and find out which dosha they are, what kind of qualities they have, and what they need the most, right?
Yes. So what we do in Ayurveda, health in Ayurveda is defined as a balance between many things. It's not just the absence of disease, but it's also the maximization of health. It's living in optimal health, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. And so what we do in Ayurveda is we look at what are called the doshas, or the mind, body, spirit compositions. So Ayurveda teaches us that there are 5 basic elements of nature: earth, water, fire, wind, and space. And these 5 elements of nature combine in different ways to form 3 unique doshas. And we all have all 3 of these doshas. It's just a matter of which one is primary, which one is secondary, which one is tertiary, and then in what ratio. So the 3 doshas are, we'll begin with kapha, which is a blend of earth and water. And then there's pitta dosha, which is fire and water. And last, vata dosha, which is air and space. So what we do when we look at these different mind, spirit, body compositions is we look at where the imbalances are. So I'll go through them so that our viewers and our listeners can try to figure out which dosha they have, which is their primary dosha, because again, we have all 3 of these. So vata dosha people tend to be tall and slender, fast walkers, fast talkers. They're very creative people, lots and lots of ideas. They're very fun to be with, highly energetic people. Very often they'll have bursts of great energy and then they'll get tired afterwards and need a nap in the afternoon. Vata dosha people, when they're out of balance, they tend to become spacey, fidgety. They'll begin many projects but not complete them because they have too many ideas. They will also tend to act impulsively without necessarily pausing to think about, whether or not this is maybe not the best decision for them to take. But when they're in balance, that same quality becomes one of great spontaneity. And when it comes to physical imbalance, vata dosha people tend to get imbalances with neurological disorders. And so when I deal with essential oils, I'll look at things like lavender. It's fantastic to calm down very excitable vata dosha people. Also, sacred frankincense is wonderful because it really grounds them in the present moment. So those are 2 essential oils that are fantastic for vata dosha people. Ayurveda also encourages a daily practice called Abhyanga, Francis. And Abhyanga is basically a self-massage that you do with oil. And for vata dosha people, the carrier oils that are recommended are sesame oil. Really and truly, it's the best one is sesame oil, warm sesame oil for a vata dosha person. And so what they can do is they can take essential oils like lotus essential oil, sacred frankincense, lavender, essential oil. Put a few drops in the sesame oil, and then begin performing this Abhyanga. And the Abhyanga is done. You start at the crown of head, you put a few drops of oil, and you just massage all the way down. You go into your forehead, you go into your eyes, just around your eyes, your nose, your face, your ears, your neck, the back and the front. And in that fashion, you work your way down the entire body. And on the limbs, the strokes are long. But when you're dealing with the head, you're massaging in a circular motion. And so you go, you do the face, the neck, the arms, the trunk, the legs, and finally the feet. And you let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. And the best way to do this is to put a towel on the floor before you do it, in case any of the oil spills. You don't want to stain the floor. You also don't want to slip on an oily floor. So just for safety reasons, you lay, a big towel down or a mat down that you don't mind getting dirty or even stained. And afterwards, what I'll do after, I'm all lubed up with this lovely, nourishing and grounding oil mixture that I've made, is I'll sit in meditation, if you can, for 10, 15 minutes. And then you shower and wash it all off. And it's super, super nourishing to the skin, but again, also to the nerves, to the emotions, and to the spirit. So that's Vata dosha. Then the second one that we have is Pitta dosha. So these are our fiery people. They're very passionate. They're leaders. They're the people who yell a lot. They get very assertive, very passionate about things. And when they're out of balance, they become too aggressive. They become bossy. They become like bullies. And where their imbalances manifest is where we have fire in the body, and that's the digestive tract. So their imbalances tend to occur in the digestive tract for these Pitta dosha people. And one of the best oils for Pitta dosha people is peppermint oil. And what has been your experience with peppermint oil, Frances?
In some people it's very cooling, and some people, they feel it very warming because the oils adapt so well to the person.
Yes.
And I personally love peppermint. I use it a lot. And it's not just great for hot summer days, but when you do a massage with it, then you get a very cooling sensation. Most people get a very cooling sensation.
And it relaxes, it opens up the muscles, doesn't it, when you do a massage with it? Like if you had a really tough workout and you do a massage with peppermint oil, it relaxes the muscles and you have less soreness and tightness the next day.
Yeah, definitely. And it also opens up, for example, if you use other essential oils with peppermint opens it all up so the other oils can be taken up by the whole body. And I really love your holistic approach, that you look at the emotions as well and the spiritual balance. And that massage just sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So what we recommend for our Pitta dosha folks is for them to use the carrier oil of either olive oil or coconut oil. And coconut oil is more strongly recommended. And then the essential oils that we recommend that they add to the coconut oil base is sandalwood or jasmine oil or rose essential oil. In India, sandalwood, as you know, is very, very prevalent. And it's a super cooling oil. It's fantastic, like for fevers. It's a brilliant paste and oil to have around the house, just for fevers alone. And so we recommend peppermint oil along with sandalwood oil, mixed in a carrier oil of coconut, ideally. And that's what we recommend for Pitta dosha people to help balance any digestive disorders that they might have. Again, they can perform the Abhyanga, the full body massage with it. But if someone doesn't have that much time, or if they're just going to bed, then they can easily just take a few drops of it, again in the carrier oil, so that it's diluted somewhat, instead of just applying it directly to the skin like that. And as I'm sure you've taught your listeners time and time again, you apply it to your temples. You can apply it at the base of your nose, on your wrists. We also apply it, in Ayurveda, we say to apply it to the thymus and to the heart and chest region. And also, if you can, to actually put some in your belly button. and allow it to get absorbed into the body that way. It's a very, very calming and soothing mechanism. And it internally, what that does is when we pour oil into the belly button, lay down and allow it to absorb, we actually lubricate the insides of our body.
Yeah, and sandalwood is a wonderful oil for meditation as well. I love to apply it on the temples and on the third eye, and then just sit in silence and focus on something positive, something divine, and really raise your consciousness. It's a great way.
Yeah. And it's, you know, sandalwood incense, it's burned so commonly in India. You know, that when I think of India having a scent, I think of sandalwood, because every time you pass by shops or temples, a lot of people are burning sandalwood, you know, as a form of offering to God. And so that aroma is always there in the air. You know, you can always smell sandalwood somewhere in India. So it is a very, very spiritual tree that's used, you know, when it comes to prayer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's clearing of energies wonderfully, and it raises the frequency. I just love to use it, whether it is in incense form or in the form of essential oil. It's always very balancing and clearing as well.
It's very soothing. I mean, I just find it to be very soothing. Just, you know, inhale that lovely aroma. It's very soothing. And then the last and third dosha that Ayurveda teaches us about is kapha dosha. So here we have this blend of earth and water. And when you think of earth and water mixing in the right balance, you get nourishment, right? So if you plant a tree in this right balance of earth and water, then you have this lovely nourishment from the earth, and the roots are firmly planted. You get a lot of nourishment that helps to grow the trees and the leaves and the branches, and it bears fruit ultimately. But when you have that water-earth mixture out of balance, you get mud. And then you have stagnation. And so physical imbalances in the body when it comes to kapha dosha people is, you know, they feel stuck, like they don't have enough, for example, blood circulation. Things are just getting stuck. They're prone, for example, to constipation, right? Things are getting stuck. And so with kapha dosha people, the antidote to the stuckness is movement. You got to get up and move. Physically get up and move. In your life, take action. You know, don't sit and keep thinking and thinking and thinking. Just get up and take action. Do something about it. You know, and they have fantastic ideas. Kapha dosha people give the best advice in the world, Francis. They give the best advice. They're super patient, they're loyal, they're faithful, they're loving, they're kind. But God bless them, they don't take their own advice. They'll tell you what to do, and they'll be spot on in their advice, but they won't take it themselves. And so with kapha dosha people, we need some of these more grounding, yet at the same time energizing essential oils. So the carrier oil for kapha dosha people is sesame oil or almond oil. And for the essential oils, we recommend tulsi, which is Indian holy basil, or we recommend sacred frankincense, and also a lot of the earthy spices like cinnamon, ginger, cloves, cardamom. And so all of these essential oils they're still grounding, but they're very uplifting and energizing at the same time. And so again, they can, you know, just dab them, you know, at the different pressure points of their body, or again, they can perform abhyanga with them.
That sounds wonderful. And these oils are quite fiery as well, quite spicy, so they get you moving in new ideas and in taking action as well. And, you know, Zeeba, one of the best oils that I often use to get in the flow, both physically and mentally and emotionally, that is cypress essential oil, where you can do a lymphatic massage, or you can just apply it to let the emotions run, or to get new ideas as well. That is a great one for being in the flow as well.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And you're absolutely right about that. The thing is that because Cyprus is not indigenous to India, in the traditional Ayurvedic teachings, it's not there, simply
Oh,
because it
right.
wasn't available, right? But because we have, modern day trade and whatnot, of course it can be used because, like you mentioned, Francis, the properties are the same. It opens you up. And with Kapha dosha people, they also tend to get stagnation around their chest and their lungs. So cypress oil is fantastic for opening up that region and helping them to breathe more deeply. And instead of, the Vata dosha people, when they breathe, Francis, they're breathing to calm down. But the Kapha dosha people, when they're breathing to energize the body and wake their body up. And so cypress is fantastic for that purpose.
Wow. So when a person comes to you, how do you see the different doshas? Do you have like first look at the person and then you already know, or do you do different tests on them?
I can do it in different ways. In person, what we do is we take an Ayurvedic pulse. And so when you take the pulse on the wrist in Ayurveda, you can actually measure the 3 doshas, and the one where the pulse is the strongest, that's their primary dosha. And then the second weakest or the second strongest pulse would be their secondary dosha. And then, the one that's remaining is their tertiary dosha. But nowadays, because I'm seeing a lot more clients via teleconference, I can tell by talking to them and also by looking at them. Usually by looking at a person, I'll have a really, really good estimate of what they are. But Ayurveda also talks about, you can have one dosha in the body and another in the mind. So you might look a particular way. Yeah, so you might be very heavy set, for example, and you might have a tendency of putting on weight easily, which are typical characteristics of Kapha dosha people. But you might find that when they open their mouth and they start talking to you, they're very antagonistic and they're very fiery at work and they're fighting with people all day long, and they have a big team who answers to them, but nobody on the team likes them or respects them because they're so obnoxious at work. Then okay, so physically this individual's Kapha dosha, but personality wise or mentally they're Pitta dosha. And so when they come to me, it can get quite complicated. So I have to see why they're coming to me. Are they coming to me for a physical issue or more of a mental, emotional issue? Because then they're treated differently. And Ayurveda, as you know, is customized. It's not one size fits all. I can have 2 pittas come to me for the same ailment. But again, because the ratio of pitta within them will be different, the treatment will be different for them.
Wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
Especially that on the different levels you can have different doshas. I didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
And that is so interesting. I mean, different parts of our being really that all come together. And sometimes it's probably for the person itself a challenge to balance the different doshas within him or her.
Yeah, can be. And then, in life, different stages of life also are linked to the different doshas. So when we're born, we're all kapha. And then the adolescent and the middle years are pitta dosha. And then what we consider elderly is vata dosha. So it's our vata dosha time of life. So it's very interesting. And the doshas correspond in Ayurveda to the seasons, to the time of day. They mandate when we should and should not exercise, when we should and should not eat. So it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. But it's ultimately all about taking the lead, Francis, from Mother Nature and following the cycles of nature.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important topics for us nowadays, especially in this special and transformative time, that we reconnect with ourselves and reconnect with Mother Nature and really get back to our natural state, and oftentimes back to the basics really, because applying an oil or doing abhyanga or doing something for your own balance, it doesn't have to be complicated or take a lot of time. It can just be very balancing, very, just feeling good. really. And we feel it in our body and mind and spirit when we are in balance. And of course, when we are out of balance, doesn't
Yeah.
feel so good.
Yes, and it can just be amazing. Like you're saying, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. I mean, just putting on, dabbing a few essential oils on your wrists, for example, before you go to sleep. What does that take? A minute? Less than a minute? But there's something grounding in that ritual if you do it every night. There's something grounding about it. And it also indicates to your mind that, it's time to sleep now. Right?
Yeah,
And it can help us
definitely.
to, yeah, it's a form of self-care, self-love.
Yeah,
Right?
that sounds so good. So, how did you get into Ayurveda? Was it always interesting for you, or just
So
naturally?
I come from a mixed heritage background. So my mother is ethnically Turkish from Iran, and my father's from North India. And in both of those cultures, because they're ancient cultures, whenever anyone would fall ill, the first thing you do is go to the kitchen in those cultures, or you go outside, you go to the garden, and you pluck the plants, or the kitchen is the pharmacy in those traditions. Even today, you don't run to the pharmacy first thing because someone in the house is sick. You go into the kitchen, you start boiling spices, you have hot water, you start mixing things up, or you have herbs, you have leaves, you have special foods, very easy to digest foods that you make for the sick person in the house to help them recover. And so growing up, my father got transferred a lot because of his career. And we lived in many, many different countries. And no matter where we lived, as children, if we fell ill, the first thing my mom would do was go to the kitchen. And it just became part of life. I just thought that's how it's done. Until I became older myself, and then I had my own place, and I realized, no, when I'm ill, I go to the pharmacy. And I thought I need to learn these ways that are so much a part of ancient cultures in the world, including the Chinese. They have TCM. And, India is not the only one who has an ancient science tradition on how to heal the body. And this whole notion of the mind and body being separated only came about in the last 200 years as a result of industrialization. But if you look at all of the ancient healing modalities and traditions, the mind and body are one.
Yeah, and they often influence each other as well. So if you solve a problem on one level, like the body, then often it goes away in the mind as well, or probably more often vice versa, that when you solve something in the mind or an emotional issue, that then also the body gets into balance as well.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. And the way that we most often experience in our postmodern culture, Francis, is stress. When we're on vacation, back in the day when we used to travel freely and be on holiday, you were different, right? Your body felt different. You got more sleep. It was just, you were a different person. Nobody came back from vacation saying, I feel so stressed. Because you were relaxing on holiday. And in our everyday life at home, we don't have that. It's just go, 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 do. And there's no time for just sitting and being and feeling. That has, in our modern day society, that's been reserved for a 2-week holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being a daily practice that we really incorporate into our lives.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have like a morning routine or a daily practice that you do directly when you get up?
I do, and I also have an evening practice that I do, a nighttime practice that I do. So in Ayurveda, we have Dinacharya, which is the morning routine practice, and then Ritucharya, which is more of a seasonal type of practice that you do based on your doshas. Because as I mentioned earlier, the seasons of nature also correspond with the dosha. So if you are Pitta dosha, you naturally have elevated fire in you. So summertime is going to give you a tough time because there's fire inside you and fire outside you. And so there are special things that you should do when the season corresponds to your dosha. But what I do is in the morning, for my dinacharya, I'll wake up and I'll give gratitude and I will pray and I will meditate. And those are the things that I regularly do for my spirit. And then some days I'll do intermittent fasting, but every morning I'll always be sure to drink either hot lemon water in the morning on an empty stomach or hot ginger tea, because I'm Vata dosha. So those two will help to balance me internally. And then in the evenings, I will use oils. And if I don't have time to do an abhyanga, which usually in the evenings I don't, what I do is Ayurveda prescribes doing a foot massage with these oils that are good for you and your particular dosha. So I will do that because it helps me to sleep. It's very relaxing and soothing to have these oils absorbed into the soles of your feet. So that's what I personally do.
That sounds amazing. Very balancing. I love foot massage as well, and I love to meditate every morning and evening. And it brings so much calmness and peace into the spirit. And then the whole body is much more relaxed and also energetic at the same time, because you feel the energy flow through you. And that is a very nice feeling in the body as well.
Absolutely. And it sets the tone for the day, Frances. I think there's such a difference. It sets the tone for the day. You're balanced going into that day.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, Zeeba, thank you so much for your wisdom and sharing it with us.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Where can people find you if they would like a personal consultation looking into the doshas and what they can do best for themselves?
So I offer a complimentary 20-minute consultation, and for that they can go to my website at zeebahealing.com, or they can find me here on Instagram at Zeeba Healing.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care and have a wonderful day. You, Zeeba, and everyone watching here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.